Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human nature stories from the Carolinas and beyond. Today it's Tuesday and it's August the 25th, 2026. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you find the information here to be informative. And if you're a returning viewer, by all means, thank you for coming back. You know, I always say the tide changes so frequently here on these YouTube streets that you always have to acknowledge where your support comes from. And I want you to know I sincerely thank you for your support. So feel free to like and to share this video. And don't forget to subscribe. And our story today is coming from the Marine Corps Air Station located at Cherry Point here in North Carolina. Take a look at the headline. And it reads, North Carolina Marine gets 40 years for child sex crimes. I'll provide you with a summary here, and I'll identify some of my sources for you in the description box. As I was preparing this video, I came across an article with this heading right here: Sexual assaults among children on U.S. military bases routinely ignored. And I have to say, well, I have to disagree, very much disagree with the statement. You see, this may have been the perspective of a decade ago, but things are changing. Better avenues for reporting are now in place. There's definitely been a culture shift, and more soldiers are being held accountable. And just like in the non-military sector, we agree with the premises that these crimes are being underreported. I believe it's the same in the military as well as in the civilian sector. And that's why continued awareness becomes so very important. We have to keep talking about it. And that's what we will continue to do here at Josie's Point of View. So today we're spending our time at the Marine Corps Air Station at Cherry Point. This is not a place that we focus on a lot, and maybe we should, because there's a lot of activities that's taking place at that installation that's newsworthy, I should say. But we're learning about some very serious crimes committed against some very young children. And the Marine has pled guilty, he's been found guilty, and he'll be spending a significant amount of time behind bars. And this case was prosecuted by attorneys at the United States Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of North Carolina, and the date of this reporting was July the 23rd, 2026. And our video today is all about this man, 35-year-old Alexander Douglas Kuhn. The last name is spelled Kuhn, and at the time of his arrest, he was a staff sergeant assigned as an aviation ordnance system technician at the Marine Aviation Logistics Squadron at Cherry Point Air Station here in North Carolina. And according to what I read, he did not live on the base but maintained a residence in New Bern, which is approximately 17 miles away from the base. And this case really has its origin back in 2023 because that's when investigators uh, they they identified him on two social media apps. I won't be mentioning those apps here on my side, but during conversations with undercover agent, the suspect claimed that he had abused a 3-year-old child and offered the child for abuse by other patrons within this chat room. Also, he asked for permission to SA a fictitious 12-year-old child that an undercover agent had presented. And I remember this case back then, when he was initially arrested, because it just seems pretty crazy that someone can go into a chat room with people that you don't even know, and then you offering up information that could put you in jail for the rest of your life. It didn't make sense. But this undercover agent or the decoy was able to get him to say some things that really set him up for trouble. So federal agents now had this Marine on their radar screen, and they obtained a search warrant for his home as well as his electronic devices. And then they interviewed him. And during that interrogation, he admitted to abusing that 3-year-old for over a year. Over a year. He also admitted to taking photographs and videos of the child and sending them to other people online. And when investigators went through his phone, they found confirmation. They found the evidence of the abuse of that baby, that 3-year-old. It was on his phone. They found numerous images and photos of him abusing this young baby, as well as information pertaining to other children. So Kuhn was arrested and charged with a series of crimes to include production, possession, and distribution of child pornography, as well as exploitation of children. And this is one of the news articles from around the time of his arrest in 2023. It's a short article, and I just want to highlight some of the things that it says, that this was a multi-agency investigation involving the local sheriff, the Craven County Sheriff's Office, Department of Homeland Security, Naval CID, and the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation. They were all working together, and that they executed a search warrant on July 19th of his address in New Bern because of the charge of sexual exploitation of children. And it says, as a result of this multi-agency investigation, Alexander Douglas Kuhn, he was 32 at the time, was charged with indecent liberties with a child, solicitation of a child by a computer, and first-degree sexual exploitation of a minor. He was transported to the Craven County Detention Facility, and he was issued a bond of $1.5 million. And a few months later, in April of 2024, a grand jury in the Eastern District of North Carolina indicted him on 3 counts of manufacturing or producing child pornography. Now, it doesn't appear as if he was ever able to make that bond. And I'm sure there were a lot of things happening behind the scenes that were not made public. And it's questionable as to whether he was offered any type of plea, special deals. I find that unlikely, but we really don't know. But we do know that he was facing up to life in prison. And according to reports on November the 21st of last year, he pled guilty as charged, guilty to the production and the possession of child sex abuse materials. And the final chapter was his sentencing, and it took place a few weeks ago on July the 23rd. He appeared before a federal judge and received his sentence. He was sentenced to 40 years in federal prison. I noticed that the Marine has already been kicked out of the military. He's no longer a Marine. If you notice, the headlines are saying the ex-Marine. So I am pretty sure that he received a dishonorable discharge plus the loss of all future benefits and so forth, even though that aspect was not mentioned in the statement, but that's exactly the way it works. And after his sentencing, an attorney from the Department of Justice did issue a statement affirming their commitment to prosecuting child predators. And part of the statement is concluded here. It did say that this disgusting pervert will no longer target the young and the vulnerable. There's a special place for him in this world, and it's called prison. And what they're saying is, if you violate our children, we're going to find you, and we're going to prosecute you, and we'll be sending you away for a very long time. And by all means, this 40-year sentence is definitely a big deal, and it will cause individuals to take notice. But I want you to know this is not an isolated sentence, because judges have been sending military personnel who've been guilty of child sexual abuse. They've been sending them away for a very long time. And here's another 40-year sentence of another active duty Marine from the same place, Marine Corps station at Cherry Point. His name, Anthony Fritzinger. He was sentenced after he was convicted in September of 2024, and then he was sentenced in July of 25, and that's when he got this 40-year sentence, because he had been out there posing as a teenager, violating young children, convincing them to send him compromising pictures of themselves, and then using it to extort new pictures. And then he was also doing the same thing to young adults, and not only that, sending those pictures to members of their family. And in one case, he was posing as somebody who was dying in order to get sympathy from these young children and to get them to send him compromising pictures. Another disgusting young man. But again, he's gone away for 40 years. So the 2 cases I presented so far had to do with soldiers who were sentenced in the civilian courts. And here's a military court martial right here at Camp Lejeune, where a Marine was sentenced to 40 years for child sex crimes. last year. And here's a brief summary of what took place at that court martial, something that you can follow along with me. You see the date 13 August 2025, and the other side of the screen, this was a judge alone general court martial, which an individual has an option either of having a panel or having decisions made only by the judge, and that's the selection made by this individual. Then you see his name on line 3. It's Corporal D.J. Bradley, again, United States Marine Corps. Then you look at his offenses, 120B, sexual assault, and RAPE of a child. Okay, and what else? Production and possession of child pornography. He did enter a plea. The judge accepted the plea, found him guilty, and sentenced him as follows: a dishonorable discharge, 40 years in prison, total forfeiture of all pay and benefits, and a reduction in grade to E1. And I think what's good about this, it shows that in the civilian courts, they're imposing these type of sentences, and now you're seeing in the military courts, they're doing the very same thing. And it's good to see that the civilian and that the military folks are seen to be working along the same line. And folks, y'all better be paying attention, all you other active duty soldiers who are out there abusing children. This is what you can face in the very near future. And this is just a small sample of what's to come. So don't believe anyone that says that child sex crimes by military personnel are often ignored. Just like the civilian sector, it may be underreported, but when it's discovered, they are held to the same standard as anywhere else. And we'll try. There's so much information to bring to you. There's so much information about recent arrests, recent conviction, but we'll try not to bring you too much at one time because then you lose interest. But stay tuned. There's a lot more to come in the future. And that's all I have for you right now, but feel free to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video, and by all means, feel free to like it and to share it. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button. It's on the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. And if you click on the bell that looks like just like this one, that's the notification bell. If you click on that notification bell, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.